Hello. Good. How you doing? Hello.
Screen's too bright.
Hmm?
The screen's too bright.
There you go. That work? Oh. Let's see. Make sure that.
Before, I think.
Three. Let's see. S. What's your date?
0 4 3 1 8 3 4
234.
8 3 4.
Is that right?
No, it's just the one. So
043.
0 4 3 1 8 3 4. It's better when I
That's all right.
remember, you know what I mean?
You're fine.
Okay.
Let me get this in real quick.
Hopefully that hasn't happened before.
No, I don't think it has. What's going on? Either way, we'll get it fixed. Sure. Whoops, here's back. Should now be in there. There we are at the end. There we go. Much
Thanks.
better. Yeah. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Tonight we're going to be doing, after announcements and some stuff we got to go over, we're going to be doing a NIC installation lab. On the group of 4. And so these are the computers we'll be using on this table. More than likely, I will have you, I think there should be enough room on this table to do all 4, but if not, you can move it to yours if you need to. We have some room at the end there too. So before we do this lab, I'll show you how to do it with your handout. So basically, each person in your group will be taking out a NIC and installing a NIC on a computer. If you've never done it before, now you get a chance to do it. If you've never seen a floppy disk before in a computer, you'll get to see a computer with a floppy disk. I'm not going to embarrass anybody to ask if you've not, but more than likely some in here that have never seen a floppy disk You might have seen one, but never held one. So, yeah, I'm going to pass one per table around. This was actually a Windows 98 boot disk right here. So, yeah, exactly. Believe it or not too many years ago, that's all we use when it comes to computers and putting drivers and applications. And in fact, like Windows 98, the boot disk, they actually had the first version of Windows 98 had an edition of Windows all on floppy disks, like 75. 75 floppy disks, you can install Windows 98. Much harder than it is today, right? To download and install in 2 minutes. And so, but these disks that you have around your table were actually used on these very computers to install drivers for NIC cards. Well, we won't be doing that tonight because we'll talk about that later, but a lot of your motherboards have built-in drivers already for your NIC card. But back in the day, we used to have to put the floppy disk in the drive, flop the NIC out, replace it, and then when it booted up, one of the first places it would look for that driver is the floppy disk. And it wasn't on a hard drive, it go to a floppy disk. So anyway, a little memorabilia for some of you maybe. Again, I'm not going to ask a raise of hands who's never seen one before physically, but I'm sure there might be one in here maybe, possibly, I don't know. All right, so if you look on the overhead, a couple things I got to go over. Tech Expo, 18 days left. I think we've got about 45 or 50 RSVPs so far. I'm pretty happy with that. What, first week in October? We can fit in that room about 75, 80. So I think we'll reach capacity for sure. And just like anything RSVP, a lot of people RSVP and then, because it's free, they just don't show up. But that didn't happen this week in my hour code that we did on Tuesday. I'll show you here some of the people that showed up there. We didn't take for whatever reason, we did not take a group photo. I think it's just because I did have 2 helpers, but that person right there that's pictured with the kids there at the table, she was one of our helpers. She's a employee here. That's when it first started. We actually had 3 rows, totally full, 25 people. That's on the second floor of the mall. This girl here actually won the Ozelbot. Next month, we're giving away 2 Ozelbots, and that is her sister to her right, our left, that completed it, and they did a JavaScript one. But anyway, if you want to do this, we have 2 more this year left. We have, you can come to participate, or you want to help pass out handouts like a couple of people did Tuesday night. You can do that as well. And if you want to, what I'll do when you shoot me an email, if you want to help, I'll shoot you back an email on what we'll be doing. Like we only have 2 more sessions left. We have November creating a game about the movie Frozen. And so if you've ever watched that movie with your nieces, nephews, or kids or grandkids, brothers, sisters, we'll be creating a game using JavaScript and Frozen. And then in December, we're creating a holiday card using Scratch programming, which is a lot of fun. And at the end of that one, and parents are involved in all these too, by the way. Parents, brothers, sisters come with their younger siblings. But anyway, the animated holiday card, when they're done with that one, they actually send it to everybody in their social media circles, email, whatever, text. And then people in that group add themselves to that app and actually remix it. They remix the app. So when it's said and done, maybe 15, 20 people have remixed the app that they created that night. So that's a lot of fun. This is actually a video done by Cherryville Mall on the hour code. And they were gracious enough to provide us a space, right? The Wi-Fi, the tables, the electricity. And we just I wrote a grant for all the iPads, which we have 20 iPad minis. And I had some older, bigger iPads that I had around, so I brought those Tuesday night, and we used every one of them. We had 25 in use Tuesday night. And so they were all in use. And so, yeah. So if you're interested in helping, we've got 2 more for this year. We'll be doing it again in 2019, starting at the end of January. So we've been doing it every month since December 2015. And the hour of code concept is to have everybody try 1 hour of code, regardless if they're a young person, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, brother, sister, or even a president of the United States. President Barack Obama did an hour of code while he was in the White House. And so anyway, hour of code is something you might want to look at. And then if you've not registered for Tech Expo, 18 days left for that. Just a note on giveaways for this one, or the reason for this one basically is to have local businesses present skills at their table. There'll be hosted tables around the student atrium. Give you advice on taking the right courses while you're here, advantage of internships while you're here. Also discover what skills over a dozen companies that'll be there will help you with what you need, what skill sets you need to work for them. As far as the agenda goes, from 5:30 to 6 is check-in on the 23rd. Dress is basically business casual. You don't have to wear a suit and tie, but just business casual is fine. And 6 to 6:05 is welcome. 6:05 to 6:30 is a keynote speaker. He's Michael King from Workplace. Workplace is a local company that helps recruit people for local companies for jobs that they have open. And so he's going to talk about local jobs in the tech market now and the next 5 years, because that's what he does. He forecasts for people. And so kind of get a good feel for that, which really for the Rockford region, in the tech market, it's really pretty high demand. And even more jobs are perceived to be open in the next 5 years than we have now. Connection time is where you'll walk around the tables and visit the local businesses. Like Entree Computer will be there. We got Visconti Computers there. We have Lions LLC, which is a PHP company, and about 10 other, and Winnebago County IT department. I'm trying to think, I'm missing a whole bunch, but anyway, companies like that will be there to talk to you about jobs they have opened and such. And they'll also have resume building help there as well. All the CIS faculty will be there. Stephanie will be there if you need help with advising, as always. And then door prizes. We are giving an iPad mini away, an Ozobot. We just got approved 2 weeks ago. The admissions department is giving away again 4 credit hours as a giveaway. That's pretty cool. It just has to be used by fall 2019. And so you can use them at any class you want, just 4 credit hours. Or actually, I guess you could do classes because you could take a 3 credit and 1 credit or something maybe. And then each business is slowly trickling in giveaways that they want to give away as well while they're there. And then if you've ever been to conferences, or maybe you've never been to conferences before, all these tables will generally have some, swag that they bring from their company to where, you can put it in your bag. And so by the end of the night, you'll have not only contact information, but some cool swag from these companies and possibly one of these giveaways. It's kind of cool, right? There's Michael, link to register. Here's some of the companies that are going to be there. You might have seen some of these. G, on the bottom, toward the bottom right, G Beta is actually out of Wisconsin, Beloit. And what they do is teach students like yourself how to take an idea and create a small business and pitch your idea to get seed money to get that business off the ground. Each year they fund $500,000 worth of seed ideas. And we've had about 8 students go through that the last couple of years. It's a really cool place in Beloit. It's at the tech over in the iron tech region of Beloit, right on the river. And there's some University of Wisconsin-Madison graduates that started the company about 5 years ago. They have 5 locations now. And they do offer to college students like yourself a free 6-week program on how to create a business plan, an LLC, pitch your idea to real big people that have money, and see if you can get money from those folks to get funded for your idea. And so, because techie geeks are really good at creating stuff, but not so great at asking for money. And so they teach you how to do that. Teach you how to ask for money and have the backing to ask for money. Why you should do it. Besides paying your bills, it's a good idea to do it. And to do it legally and all that good stuff. So anyway, it kind of teaches things maybe we don't teach, or I know we don't teach in school today. They kind of teach that, the missing component kind of to all kind of tech courses, I think. And then you can see also Savant, Practice Velocity, Ingersoll, OSF, United Technologies. We have a few new ones this year, which I think I already mentioned, which is Winnebago County IT Department, Gus Genter. I used to work with him years ago. And he hires at least 2 or 3 interns a year. Gus is a really good guy. And they get paid well too, like $18, $20 an hour for interning at down Winnebago County Courthouse. They're overall the software for Winnebago County. And anyway, he called me and he wants to do it this year. Or no, take it back. He's not doing it. Having 2 of his managers do it. So Gus isn't doing it. So there's also frequently asked questions about CIS and what we're doing there for that event. And this is a new one. I don't know if it's not new. We did this last semester. Some of you will be asking to do this. It's graduating this semester is to fill out this alumni. Where are they now? Which basically goes through, I'll show you a little sneak preview here. It goes through each person, there's Melissa, she works here on campus. She's an alumnus from Rock Valley, and a little cool graphic there with everybody's picture and talks about what they got a degree in and then what they're currently doing. She's a programmer analyst here in Rock Valley, and she also helps with Girls Who Code. She's one of my facilitators. And Melissa, I had her in this class actually about 5 years ago, and she now works full-time as a programmer. And you might notice some of these people as I scroll through. Danielle is in this class as well. She works here on campus as a network administrator. Aaron is I think a local youth pastor. He's a graduate of here as well. Mark Meyer, he used to work at Clio. He now is a buyer for another company. He just got recently hired. He's also a bass player for a rock band in Rockford. I can't remember the name of the band, but Mark's a cool guy. Matthew, Savant Capital, he's still there. They're one of the people at Tech Expo. Matt was a math teacher for years, and he came to my office about 8 years ago and wanted to think about maybe switching to become a programmer. And now he's a full-time programmer in Madison. He's been doing it for about 5 years now, and he's a great guy. Adam, he works for Lions LLC. It's going to be at Tech Expo, and you might have seen this guy before, Dave Severson. He's one of our guys. He filled out this form. I do like what he said in this one. He said that I'd do a quote or some advice he might give everybody, and he said in his, there will be obstacles, there will be mistakes, but with hard work, there are no limits. So I like that. Apply that to anybody. Lindsay is a web designer. She now works for Apple. Sarah is in Florida, working in tech. Jason is an law auto group in Bensonville. And Mike Mastriani, which was our last president, I like what he said. Never miss an opportunity to learn and grow. Each class, job, and life lesson is valuable and should be embraced. And then Joanna. Demetrius, he's also an employee here on campus. He's over a network technical specialist. And he too took this class and did what you're getting ready to do in a little bit with the networking cards. Greg King, he's going to Illinois State University. He's got 1 more year left for his computer and information systems bachelor's. And he's doing a minor in network security and cybersecurity. And by the way, Illinois State has an awesome CIS program, one of the best, and really affordable too, really affordable. So anyway, and I did not read this before class. I just know each one of these people that well. And so anyway, read that. Tells where the location is, and so, and oh, we did this thing called the tech card. Basically, this is for when you go around each table. One of the things we found the first year is students enjoyed it, but they didn't remember anything. Okay, which is kind of not good, right? So we had them create this little tech card, which you could load on your mobile phone as you're walking around the tables, and just get some information about the company, who you talked to, who the representative was, what service they offer, yada, yada, yada. Check mark all the different things that apply, and do they hire interns, and submit it. It goes directly to your inbox. Boom. You don't have to remember, which if you're like me, you're not going to remember anyway. So that is Tech Expo, and sign up for that if you've not done so. How many of you already signed up for Tech Expo, by the way? Anybody? All right, a few of you? Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. And then myrec.org still has a few job openings. I wanted to talk about that. Two of them, actually. One of them is still on here, but it's been taken off, so I'll tell you what it is here in a second. Oh, and you can go right to click on that to sign up to Tech Expo. Let's go to jobs. Okay, the two that are still open are actually the top two there. Part-time IT technician for Stillman Bank, and then the second one is filled. It's going down further here. PCI Pharma Services, a help desk one. That one there's still not filled. So if you just go to myrec.org, you can read about it, submit your resume or whatever they want you to do. Questions on that? And I think most of you are following us on Twitter and Facebook. If you are, as soon as we post a job here, we also post it on social media. That way you can apply quickly if you want to. All right, so tonight we're going to be going over week 7 and just briefly talk about NIC installation before. We're not going to do a formal presentation. We're just going to talk about it and some tips and tricks I've learned over the years. And let's forward fast a little bit to upcoming weeks. Has anybody ever used any remote control software to control a computer at work or at home when you've been not at that location? Anybody done that before? Raise your hand if you've done that. Okay, so most of you haven't, so that's good. In the next couple of weeks, in fact, week 8 and week 9, or week 8, you'll be doing a remote access. Basically, in this one, let me pull that one up to make sure I got the right lab. That one you'll be using TeamViewer. TeamViewer is the best tool to use as a student. It's a free download for non-commercial use, which means you can install it on your home computer, Mac or PC, or even Linux, and be at school here and say you forgot a paper. You can't say my dog ate it, or I forgot my paper. You can actually log in and get it. And you can work on your computer from anywhere. What's cool about it is, like on my iPad, there's apps I don't have on my iPad that I have on a PC that has TeamViewer, and on Mac that has TeamViewer. So I can log in from my iPad to that location and do work, just like I was sitting in front of it, and be mobile, right? So TeamViewer will be doing that one. On the TeamViewer lab, you'll actually get started in class. I'll show you how to use it. Then you'll get with one another before you leave to figure out a time you're going to do this when you're at home, to where you can remote control each other's computer. Because TeamViewer has 2 ways to install it. One is a one-time usage only. So when you start it up, it says, do you want to use this once or install it? If you say once, it prompts it, has a little ID and password. You give it to that person that's going to help you. They put in that ID and password, and boom, they're remoted in your computer. Now, it's only a one-time password. Your ID a lot of times stays the same, but the password changes each time you fire it up. And so it's peace of mind if people are being remote controlled. That way, you know, after that session, that same person can't come back in and remote control in again because it's going to be a different key. The second way you can install it is you can install it unattended, meaning once you install it, you can install TeamViewer on your mobile devices, on your laptop, and remote into your computer from anywhere really quickly. What's cool about it besides that is you can also transfer files within TeamViewer. you can record the screen within TeamViewer. The way we have set up in a lot of locations is specifically on servers, we want to know who's accessing a server, which makes sense, right? So what we have to do when TeamViewer is remoted into a server, it records that session. Now you might think, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you do that besides just wanting to know? Well, here's another good reason to record. A lot of times when you're doing something in networking or in IT, anything, right? If you don't record every step, you might forget, or you're sick one day or on vacation, somebody else that's filling in for you doesn't know how to do it. Well, the recordings help to document steps that we did to where they can be replicated. And so let's say, for instance, after an update, 2 services on a server were turned off. They weren't enabled. They were disabled by an update, which a lot of times Windows updates will do that. So I log into a server, I check mark or go onto the services and enable them and make it turn them on, and now they're turned on. Well, now I document it when I get back to the office on what I did, add that video that TeamViewer videoed to that ticket, and then that way somebody else down the road looks at it, that same issue in the database, they can bring up that video and exactly what the solution was. Now that doesn't work every time, but it's better than not having anything, if that makes sense. So we'll be doing that next week, and that's a lot of fun. Now, believe it or not, your paper is coming up really quickly. We're in week 7 now. Week 9, which is 2 weeks from tonight, no face-to-face class that week. You will work that night on your research paper. In this week, there's also a tutorial I put together a while back on how to create an outline. So you'll watch that, and I'll just ask you, what did you accomplish this week? Hopefully you've accomplished at least getting your outline created and maybe the beginning of researching on one of the points, okay? But I'll walk you through actually next week a little bit at the end of class. I'll kind of give you on the board a rough draft of how to create a paper. And for many of you, it might have been a while since you've done it. And I'm not an English teacher, but I'm just telling you what's helped me when I was not too long ago in school on creating papers. And you know how English teachers always tell you, okay, first thing, you got to turn in what? When you have a paper, what do you turn into an English teacher usually? For them to verify that you're on the right track, your outline, right? Okay, got to do an outline. And I'm just like you. I don't care about an outline. I can just type a paper. I don't need an outline. I'm too smart for that. I can do it. I don't need an outline. I can just start typing. Well, that doesn't seem to work too well, even though I thought it did. Because you end up having to force yourself, basically in your head at least, to create an outline to be able to figure out what you're going to research, right? And so turns out that outlines are actually pretty good. Okay, they actually work pretty good. That otherwise you're kind of going on these wild chases, right? So an outline kind of keeps you focused. So I'll help you with that a little bit. And my outlines have always generally been about a 6 to 8 point outline. That's it on everything I've ever done, paper wise. I'll show you how to do it for the research paper. And basically, we'll also talk about this week in that podcast converting a research paper to a presentation. It's not reading your research paper. It's basically taking your outline and converting it to slides. So if you have a 6 outline paper, you're going to have at least a 6 slide presentation, if not more, 6 to 10 slide presentation. The presentation is only going to be 10 minutes, so you don't want more than roughly 10 slides anyway, because that's a little less than a minute per slide that you can devote to your presentation. Because a lot of students are like, well, I don't know if I can do 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not that long. Okay, and you really will have to kind of rush through it if you don't time yourself. And so we'll talk about that as well. Now I'm the same as you. I don't need to time myself. I can come up here and do it off the fly, perfectly 10 minutes. Don't need to do it one time. Done. Right? Well, I always give like a 2-minute warning, and students over the years have always said, "Wow, that 10 minutes went by a lot faster than I thought it was going to go." So you have a 2-minute warning, you got 5 slides left, you're going to have to kind of skip through some really quick. And so I'll help you with that. But 2 weeks from tonight, no class, research paper, because, I know most of you have already started your research paper, so it's probably just like, refreshing what you've already done, but no, I'm just joking. Many of you have not started a research paper, I know that. That's why I gave you the time to do it on week 9. Week 10, let's go over that. After you come back, week 10, network calls. The network calls is basically starting, notice it says it's due week 12. This one you'll actually get a script to call 20 plus companies, cold call them basically. You can know some of them if you want, but a lot of them you won't. And you're going to ask them about the makeup of the network. And it gives you a list of questions to ask, or they can email you the answers as well. And that's kind of interesting, the results on that one. I have had over the years students get jobs from these calls. I've also had students said, do not go into IT. You're going to hate it. Okay, I've had that too. And other choice words about going into IT. So, but that's a good experience for you because it's real life and, you know, you're going to hear a whole bunch of different attitudes sometimes. And you're also going to find out how many people in IT don't know what's on their network, or maybe even what their position is possibly. I don't know. You'll find out. That week, you're also doing for your lab subnetting exercise. I'll give you the old-fashioned way. You'll have a take-home with that one as well after I show you that. And then week 11, Ultra VNC, which is another really good remote control software for in-house only. So this one's good for, there's a product called Teamwork, or Spiceworks that actually uses VNC, to where once it's installed on everybody's computer, you can easily remote in their computer and, you know, transfer files, show them how to do stuff. It's kind of choppy though. It's not as good as TeamViewer, but it's used a lot in IT departments because it's totally free. You don't have to pay for it as a company. And so we'll do some tasks with that. And Ultra VNC is probably one of the better free products for that. And you'll do all that in class. And you'll transfer files, help each other out like you would in like a help desk scenario. Week 12, this is a fun one. This one you'll actually have half of you will have an opportunity to be a troubleshooter, like a help desk troubleshooter. Half of you will be the people that are having issues with your computer. And you get scripts with these, right? And you'll have on the script what your problem is and what the solution is. And the troubleshooter is going to come in. You guys will sit back to back on your chair. I'll say ring, ring, and you'll begin asking questions and see if you can figure it out. Some of the scripts that the users will have underlines that give clues to the people if they ask at least two or more questions. But just so you know, it's a fun one because you'll get to watch this video at the beginning called Help Desk video. These are guys that travel the U.S. that do kind of satirical plays and music about IT, basically. And they've all worked in IT. They have one song called Every OS Sucks. That's a really good one. But you'll watch a video. I'm basically what not to do on Help Desk, but it's kind of fun. And then that one you'll switch. Once you've been a troubleshooter, you'll switch. I'll have you go outside and we'll have both users. You'll be able to do both a user and a troubleshooter both. So that's a fun one. You'll like that one. So that's week 12. Week 13, we'll be creating users, which is popular in networking, in Windows, Linux, and a Mac environment. And so you'll learn how to create users in all three environments. And so, again, that's a very popular task that you have to do in networking. Now, depending on your company, depending on your turnover, it could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be yearly, however much turnover you might have possibly. But either way, it's good for you at least done it once while you're in school, if not more than that at least. So you get to do it at least once with this lab. And then week 14 and 15 is presentations. And you'll submit your research paper. I think, in fact, I've got older presentations in here you can actually download and look. Some of them are screencast for week 14, and probably I left the ones for week 15 there as well, probably in the podcast. Let me see here. Yeah, in the podcast. And so basically you can watch a podcast. So all of your presentations will be recorded just like mine are, and that way you guys can watch them later. So wrapping it up pretty quick. Now let's go to week 7 and make sure you've submitted your name in the lab. And before we get to actual deed of NIC installation, I wanted to bring up that document that's in front of you on the overhead and kind of go over it with you and give you some tips to help you. So basically, you'll be able to take this document when you go home and be able to replicate it on any computer. Some of the things in this you will not do, and I will go over that real quick. So it says in this lab, you're going to install and configure a NIC on a PC. Take your time, be careful, do not hesitate to ask for assistance. Need at least 3 or 4 students. Some of your groups might only have 2 students, that's fine. A PC with a working NIC card, we have 4 of them. The NICs are already unplugged, but this, if you were at home, they wouldn't be, or at work. Proper ESD is basically electrostatic discharge. Basically what that means is on a case mod, these cases actually are made of material that just if you're in laptops and tablets are not the same material. When you rub your hand on like this, any electricity you might have in your body will transfer to the case, if that makes sense. But it doesn't mean you want to do one of these, while you're doing it to see if you can create a spark, because you might be able to. Some of you have more spark than others, by the way, too, right? Anybody have like every door handle you touch at the grocery store and you get a shock? Anybody like that besides me? Every time. Literally, when I go up to get milk, it's like one of these. Like I have to tap it first and then grab the door because it's a shock every time. So anyway, you'll do a proper PSD. ESD. Also, you might have heard of what's called a ground strap. You'll see them at Best Buy. The guys never use them, by the way, but they're there on the counter because they have to be, because it's in the rules. Over the years, even Visconic Computer, I was talking to him, they do a lot of that. Years ago, with the older computers that didn't have this fancy of the power supplies that we have now, the power supplies that are built in computers today have a much more dissipation rate of power than the older ones did. And so maybe 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it made sense to use a ground strap. Today, it really doesn't. Not to say it doesn't hurt to have one, just you don't generally see shops that use it anymore. But so I don't have that in the documentation, but if you do reading on PC repair, a lot of times you see ground strap. Basically, just a strap around your wrist, it's mounted to a table or something metal. And again, if you run the case, let it sit for 30 minutes, totally unplug from not just power, but USB, printer, anything that's behind, or the laptop, unplug everything just so it's sit on your table, right? What's going to happen is any power that's in that, in the motor for the magnetic around your power supply will dissipate into the case and into the table, basically, is the thought. Then you will basically remove the case mod. Now, some of these case mods you're going to see are definitely old school. Then you got screws you have to unscrew. Like all the modern case mods today have no screws in them, pretty much, right? You have levers and you pull a thing open and it's, a lever for the NIC card and everything. Some of these will actually have, in fact, all these will have screws for the NIC card. Some of these cases will have screws to pop open the case. But all modern today generally don't. But it's a good thing for you to have the old ones, I think, because you might walk into the places that still have old computers, old servers around. Also, number 2, installing the NIC, or when you're, number 1, sorry, when you're locating and removing the NIC, here's what I want you to do. And you just sit there and just, I'll visually show you. So we'll pretend that this case is off, and I'm putting it towards me here, where the NIC's facing me. One thing is, some of these computers have 2 NIC cards, and you'll have to decide in your group which one you're going to use to take in and take out. But what I always do on the NIC cards, I make sure that I have the computer positioned to where the NIC card is this way, facing down, right in front of me. One of the reasons for that is 2 reasons. One is that it saves your back, over the years, to work on computers a lot. Bless you. Number 2, it's less likely to do damage to the NIC card if you're doing one of these, way out here or whatever. So if you're right over the top of it, when you're unscrewing the screw, you'll kind of ease it out. I kind of rock it up like this. Same thing when you're putting it in. You'll sit it on the motherboard on the slots. And you'll see a slot on the NIC card. You'll see when you take it out. This is a crude drawing, but do something like this. Okay, these little tines here. And then the motherboard. This is a side view of a NIC. Okay, in the motherboard, a top view of a NIC will have a little slot perfectly where that one fits. It's generally off center. It's generally not in the center like that. It's generally like something like this here, and then you have your slot here on the NIC, to where it can only literally fit one way on your motherboard, if that makes sense. So once you get that seated in there, you then look over again over the top. I use my thumb on both sides and just gently push down, rock down until it's seated well. You know it's seated well if these tines, these metal tines that look brass, are not viewable. So these should not be viewable from looking at the NIC on either side of the motherboard. They should not be viewable. If they're viewable, then you can see the metal. It's not seated well, if that makes sense. Okay, so everybody in your group, the first person will take the case off, unscrew the NIC, remove the NIC, put the NIC back in, leave the screw out. Second person, remove the NIC, put the NIC in, and each time you need to make sure that it's seated well. You just have everybody in your group kind of eye it. The last person in your group will seat the NIC, screw it in, put the topper back on, and then you'll sit it over here on this metal container, or this metal slider over here. Okay, part 2, installing NIC. I already went over that. Easy to install. Only consideration for installation are you have the available slot, and the NIC is designed for that type slot. Most PCs use a PCI slot over a NIC. Older NICs might use an ISA, which is really old, which is now obsolete. Check the available slot and the slot type. And most of these NICs today are like 3Com, Intel, and they're all about $30 to $50 roughly. And they do fry every once in a while. Like I gave an example, an elementary school I was helping years ago. Came to class, came to school, one of the computer labs, every NIC card was gone. And they actually had power supplies, they had surge protectors, but sometimes those don't help. Because it was such a huge surge, it fried the surge protector and fried the NIC card. Now, thankfully, it didn't fry the motherboard, which it didn't, but every NIC card was fried, so you had to replace them all. So I had to go to the local computer store to buy 30 of them, and all modern day NICs will fit modern day PCs for the most part. It's going to fit that. It's going to fit basically what it talks about here on part 2. It's going to fit basically the PCI slot that are going to be in most modern NICs. So I already went through all that. We're not going to do plugging the PC in. We will do securing the slot, the brackets. Number 2, where it says the following tasks cannot be done in class. So page, these are things that are not going to be done, but we're going to talk about them, and you're going to do a little quiz at the end. Once your group's all done, you'll answer a quiz that we'll go over, and I'll give you the answer at the end. So first thing you need to make sure is to have the proper NIC drivers. Every NIC needs some protocols for it to work, for peer-to-peer, for networking, software. So the first is the protocol Microsoft TCP/IP, and we've used that here already. 2 versions, version 6 and 4. All your modern day computers will install this protocol by default when you install a new NIC. Back in the day, when you use a floppy disk on some of these computers here, that wasn't the case. You literally had to install, just like it says here, you had to add a Microsoft protocol for TCP/IP, then it would add it into the NIC part. Very rarely do I see that today on modern day computers, if at all. On any, like a computer within the last 5 years, I'm going to have to do that. But it's good to know if you had to, what to do. Also the client, add the client on number 8. You'll click add client, Microsoft, client for Microsoft Networks. This one's to connect to what you think? And to work on what? On your network, right? So to work on a network, a LAN, you need this client added. Then the services. Number 11, add 12 service, 13 Microsoft, file and print sharing for network. This one's needed if you ever want to share your files on the network from that computer. You can disable this, by the way, on a NIC card. And if you did that, you wouldn't be able to share files from that computer to anyone on the network. Okay? But you'll notice when you go home or on the computer in tonight, that this is always turned on by default, but it can be disabled. Yes. Why? Because they don't want to share files. They don't want people even have the remote chance of sharing files. So, an example: military installations will have this turned off. Will have this disabled because their files that they use, they don't want to share one to the other, and most of the files they use are all on the network. And so that's a good question. And so yeah, for companies or individuals who don't want to share files, you would turn it off. Also, you'll notice in that one is a print sharing feature. With this turned off, you also would not be able to connect to network connected printers, which we use a lot in computer, right? So you need it for file sharing and print sharing both. Finally, on 15, you would close out the control panel. If necessary, Windows OS will copy whatever necessary files needed. And if Windows prompts you, and again, a lot of computers don't have this today. It might ask you for a CD or a floppy disk. But again, most computers don't have that today. So a lot of your operating systems, I would say from probably Windows 9, Windows XP, Service Pack 2, even before, all the drivers that are needed for all the popular NIC cards, the protocols are built in to the operating system Windows for the most part. Okay? So you didn't have to download anything. If you think about it, especially, it's really important that did this because as computers got more advanced, floppy disks were taken out. A lot of computers today don't have DVDs or CDs, right? Those are gone. Where are you going to get your drivers? You can't download them because you don't have internet. You don't have a network connection yet. Your NIC card's not installed yet. Okay, so because of that, it's going to be on a lot of the OS, a lot of Windows OS. I have seen manufacturers put drivers on a USB drive and put in the box like a cheap USB. I've seen that, but for the most part, you'll just get a driver with a piece of paper that says your driver is going to be found on the Windows OS. Okay. If they are an really off-brand NIC card, I have seen them include a USB drive for the drivers, which means Microsoft. It's so rare of a company that Microsoft hasn't included it in its operating system drivers. If that makes sense. Okay. Then you would shut your computer down normally, restart. And then once you are through with your going through everything I've already went over, flip the page, you will go over a quick quiz, which I'll quickly read, and then we'll go at it here real quick. So number one, you'll go over, by the way, the page we just came from is going to help you with a lot of these questions. So number one, what protocols need to be installed for PCT110 to work? Number two, what's the difference between a patch and crossover cable? Already done that. And here, what type of network use the patch cable? What type of network use the crossover cable? If your NIC card does not work, we've already talked about this already, what are some causes of that possibly, and how would you troubleshoot? So you'll answer those questions as a group. You just have one person write the answers down if you want, and then we'll go over that right before we leave, okay? Make sense? You ready? Does everybody have their handouts in front of you? Before we get started here, I do want to show you this fancy, really high-end box over here. I'm just joking. These fancy screwdrivers. Some of them are really fancy. Some of them are not so fancy. These are really chintzy tools here, but hey, they work. Okay. So I'll leave these in here in the box. When you're through, put them back in the box. All right, go and get on up and help each other with your lab. I'll walk around and help with you. Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you. Oh, you're returning the floppy disk. Okay. No takers, I'll take in a floppy disk. All right. You can have it if you want. And if you need to move your PCs, you can around the room if you want to, or you can do it right there on the table. If you want to move it on your table, you can. I can move this off here if you want to use this. Big point of this is actually not that idea.
Oh no, there it goes.
Make sure you're looking right over the NIC card before you decide to do anything.
Okay.
You need a screwdriver? Would you need Phillips or straight?
This one's.
Okay. Bill?
There we go.
Never mind. Got it. Okay. Gotcha. You're welcome. And a lot of your computers will have two NICs. You have to decide which one you're going to use. Make sure before you start taking the NIC out, it's towards you like I showed you guys earlier, with the NIC like this in front of you. Make sure it's straight across like this in front of you. That way it's a little easier to take it out. We'll draw this fancy drawing on the board. Make sure your NIC card is looking like this, everybody, before you're taking it out. Where when you're looking at it, it's either facing this way or this way. Okay? Perfect. Good job.
Wiggle it back in.
Let's turn yours, guys, this way.
Yeah.
That way. Perfect.
Yep.
I'll have you guys, which side are you guys working on? Right here. Let's do it this way. You're that way, right on the top of it.
Simple as that.
Good. What we doing here? Yep, that's it right there. Yep. Just make sure we're there side, like if we work on this side, if you find something right there, see what she's at. Pull it out. Good. Perfect. Another thing that I did not mention, make sure you don't touch the tines that are seated in the motherboard. Those metal tines don't touch with your fingers. The oils on your finger can cause issues when you reseat it. Your fingers can touch the top of the NIC card, just not the bottom where the metal tines are seated in the motherboard. You're not going to hurt it. You take your left hand, yeah, then kind of rock it down, put some muscle into it. You'll feel it snap in there. You hear it? Cool. Oh, did it break? Oh man, that was an expensive one. That was like $2. Hold on. Oh, somebody take a screwdriver, don't mind. Go next, you got a screwdriver over there?
Yeah, we got one.
Oh, no.
Right.
That'll work for you? Did you guys get another one? I found a really powerful one.
Thank you.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. It kind of looks like the dark crystal.
How we doing over here? Awesome. Get ready to take it out first. Awesome. And you can, yep, perfect. You did perfect. Yep. Good job. You'll rock it in when you set it in there. And I'll have you guys put yours, once it's all together, I'll have you put the bottom. Once yours is all put together, I'll have you put on the second shelf.
That was most things.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah.
Great, go ahead and get your quiz. Once you get your computer put up, you can go ahead and do your quiz as a group. And we will go over that here in about 5 minutes. Cool, good job.
Okay, wait. Oh, yeah, we got it.
Oh.
As soon as you get your computer put up, you can go over the quiz as a group. Oh, I took yours was down this one, I moved it up over here.
Oh.
So if you have it over here, that's what it's yours. Oh,
Do I have
well, what I'll do over here.
Oh, wait, is it?
Yeah, all right.
I'm using, again,
Interesting.
older.
That's all right.
Found this one here.
I can just start
Hold on, I thought it was here.
Have you seen my pen?
What was that? What color was it? Blue? Let's see if we'll put this on. Blue pen, blue pen. Well, I know, I remember picking up a pen. And I put the pen and the paper both here. Maybe I'll put it up here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I grounded before they put the computer down. There you go. All right, great job. Go ahead and go over your quiz questions, and then we will talk to you about here in about 5 minutes. Remember, page 2 is going to help you with that one. And there might be a trick question on there, maybe. I don't know. Maybe look and see.
It's all right.
Possibly.
You again? Me? Oh my goodness. I'm joking. It's easy. Need to practice one. Okay, so what protocols do we need to install for PCT IP to work? That was the yeah. That's the one. PCT IP. Okay. What's the difference between attach and crossover tables? Remember all that? Yeah. Crossover is for between lines. Yeah. Attach. Okay. Someone remembered. I think so. Yeah. 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 So crossover is between supposed clients to be the word.
Workstations?
Workstations. Yeah. Between clients and patches for the client to switch or client to repeater, I think, or yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. How many's still working on your questions? All right, cool. You're fine. You're good.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, straight along, so it's from. Yeah, and start is switch, so probably plus. And so could be. Star. No. Plus. Nick card is box. Might not be. The Nick card is busted, or the connections are aren't there. Check the connections and other board card. You don't have the right drivers. Yeah, hardware. Oh yeah, those are the three. How would you troubleshoot? Troubleshoot by checking if your connections are there. Checking to see if the card isn't damaged itself. And see if you have the right drivers. We're fighting them. Yeah.
All right, about one more minute, and then we're gonna help you through here. We're gonna give you see how close you are.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this. How to like the driver. Yeah, they just. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Number one, what protocols need installed for TCP/IP to work? TCP/IP, exactly. You win the prize. All right, number two. Told you there was a trick one in there. All right, here we go. Number two. What's the difference between a patch and crossover cable? Somebody tell me what you put down. Anybody? Take a stab at it.
Network devices, typically on modern networks.
Yep.
To switch routers.
What's technically different about the wiring, though, between a patch and crossover?
The green and the orange switch.
Or switch, yeah. So basically, if you had something about patch being the wires are the same on both sides, and cross is you have the transmit and receiver wires switched, that's something like that along that ballpark, you're good to go. Okay. Number three, what type of network uses a patch cable? And remember back when we went over the topology discussion, so it could have been possible for somebody. Got anybody throw out some real quick? Star. What else could be in there? Bus. Yeah. Put a blank on it. I think it's a song. Put a blank on it.
Ring.
There you go. Ring. There you go. All right. And then so it's either star, bus, hybrid, or ring. Remember, hybrids could be a conglomerate of all of them. So if you had something like that, that'd be great. One of the four would be awesome, or all of them. And then what type of network uses a crossover cable? And this could be a 3-letter or 3-character answer. Starts with anybody get that? Starts with a P. What type of network uses a crossover cable? Starts with the letter P. Peer-to-peer. There you go. Remember that one? You can connect any 2 devices with a crossover and it'll talk, right? Without the need of a hub or a switch. Right, number 5, if the NIC card does not work, we went over one of these instances of when it couldn't work in class before we did the deed. What could be the cause and how would you troubleshoot? So what did you guys put down that?
Connections.
Connections could be a cause, yeah. What else? Anybody have anything different?
Wrong
What was that?
Could just be dirty. Cleanliness. Maybe you don't have wires very nice. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Good. Anybody else? Good. Yeah. Wrong drivers. Okay, good. Wrong protocols, wrong client, no protocol. One more that we went over in class before you started. Could be fried. And one, I guess another one besides that. Yep. What was it now? Might be disabled. One more I'm looking for. It actually has to do with when I drew up here, I told you some things to watch for before on both sides of the NIC, that it's what?
Might be not seated correctly.
By not seated correctly, exactly. If it's not seated right, a lot of times your NIC won't work if it's not seated right. And you bust apart your case mod to see if it's seated correctly. And there was a good one here, I think, on cable weren't connect, or maybe they have a Cat 5 that was connected, but it might be bad Cat 5. Some over here was on wires aren't connected. And then protocols could be protocol TCP/IP is not installed, client networking file is not installed. Any of the above would have worked for that. So seated well. Generally, what I will do on a NIC card if it's not installed properly or it's not working is what you can do is a ping command. Remember the ping command we did the first couple weeks of class where you're pinging? Anybody remember what you pinged to do a test on the NIC card?
127.
Got 127.0.0.1. What's the other one we could do besides that?
Local host.
Local host, we could do that. Either one is if you get back 4 returns on a PC and they're 100%, meaning solid returns, you're going to have a healthy NIC. If you don't get back 4, so you get back 2 or 3 of them don't work or 1 of them don't work, then more than likely in this case on the pinging is going to be a seated option. That there's something maybe not seated well in that NIC card. I've seen that before. All right. Awesome. So great job. Keep the handouts. You're not going to turn any of those in. Make sure you submitted your name in the week 7 lab. And remember, next week when you come to class, we'll be doing TeamViewer. We will have a presentation on TeamViewer, how to use it, and how workplaces use it, along with a video on how some people use TeamViewer. I think you'll enjoy it. And hopefully after next week, after you do your lab next week, because part of it's in class, part of it's take home, you'll actually start using TeamViewer. A lot of students get turned on to TeamViewer and start using it, which I think there was a couple people in here that use TeamViewer already. Who was the folks that use TeamViewer already? 1, 2 of you, 3 of you? Okay. So I think after you use it and experience it, you'll want to use it at home and start playing with it. Cool? Awesome. Well, great job. We will see everybody next week. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll see you.
Do you have any more of those handouts for the cabling?
For the cabling
Well,
lab,
your
good
last
question. Good question. I don't, but let me show you here where you can get them at. Hang on just a second.
Yeah, man. I'll see you later.
If you look over my shoulder here, I'll show you.